Greetings, fellow visitors. This is Upgrade Terminal, a Star of Providence fan cast. I'm Malachi.
And I'm Nick. Welcome back to the facility.
Well, Nick, we find ourselves at the beginning of a new year.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know about what's going to happen with Star of Providence in 2024?
Well, we don't know very much, if I'm honest. We know that Team D13 is really hoping to release the update this year.
Mm-hmm.
We have not had any news about it recently. So we can only hope that that is still the plan.
I think you would concede that it's very, very likely, right?
I think that at this point, Team D13 would be a little embarrassed if it wasn't the case.
Yeah, and I feel like them announcing being published by Big Mode means they have a certain level of confidence in the release date, right?
I mean, I would say that also means that because they came to an agreement with the publisher would sort of place certain expectations of them, like, well, you're going to release within a certain,
window.
Yeah, there would be a certain window of time in which the game would be released. And if it does not release until then the publishers would start to put pressure on them to deliver.
So we don't know for sure, but we hope that it's coming out. We have strong suspicions that it will come out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a frog-shaped Big Mode gun pointed at Team D13's head. Right? In summary.
Yeah. I think Team D13 has, for the most part, has chosen not to say too much more beyond that. They are not getting our hopes up or hyping us up for anything more than that. It is very much, this is the update, we want to release it, and they're not making any promises about any additional projects or anything of the like. I think they would rather want to focus exclusively on get this update done, and then later we can talk about what else we can do.
Yeah. I think that's very smart. I would wager that they have learned a lot from recent video game mishaps in which people overpromise and underdeliver, which has happened a lot in the last few years, it feels like.
Yeah, and I think in all of them, a certain amount of time pressure was involved. But I do think that Team D13 would acknowledge that they've had plenty of time at this point, and it's reasonable for players to sort of want to receive something at this point, because as we're recording this, Rutabaga in the server has sort of dug up some old teasers in the old Twitter page, promising that the update would come out in 2021. It has not happened. So I think Team D13 would understand if the player base is starting to get a little bit antsy about getting the fabled update.
Yeah. It's close. It's close enough that we have a trailer. It's close enough to smell it, taste it. It's got to be close.
One would hope so.
So we don't know very much. Nothing is confirmed, but we also need to talk about what we hope is going to happen in 2024 in regards to Star of Providence. So I'm sure you've got some thoughts on that.
Well, one of my big hopes is that with the release of the update, that I hope we can finally have, once again, a big racing tournament, that we can have our first proper sprint tournament. And so we'll be able to, I hope that I can get back to work on that, create a new tourney, organize new things, and
Hmm.
with the new version of the game, we can have exciting races and maybe see how the game has changed since then. I will say that aside from changing the name,
Hmm.
there is work happening right now on creating a new logo,
Hmm.
and there is a project underway. It's on a bit of a hiatus right now, but there's
Hmm.
a project to sort of help automate friendly races, casual races,
Hmm.
so people can just set up a race with some other pilots and just get up and go.
That's awesome.
I hope 2024 is a big year for sprint and that we see a lot of activity again, and this draws players in, even if they're not competitive, that this is just a fun way to interact and enjoy the game with other people.
Yeah, I really hope that too. When we have done races in the past, it wasn't sprint then, it was monorail, but they were so much fun. I'm really, really curious to see how the update is going to change the racing meta
Hmm.
and what other challenges there will be. So that is for someone who has no knowledge of what's coming in the update. That is very exciting to ponder, and I cannot wait to see it.
I mean, you do sort of know some of the things that are coming in the update.
Oh, yeah, true. I mean, I know some weapons and stuff, but new crawlers. That's what I know.
Of course. What is one of the things that you are hoping for Star of Providence this year?
For me, I'm really, really hoping that the Switch release
Hmm.
will bring Star of Providence to more people. I want it to get a larger audience. One, because it deserves that. I love the game enough to make many episodes of a podcast with my friend about it, and I've been reading a lot of end of year lists and listening to a lot of end of year video game podcasts. Everyone talking about, oh, what was the best game of the year? I really hope in 2024 that Star of Providence makes it onto some of those lists. For me, one of the most exciting things about it coming to Switch is, yes, I'll have it portable. I'll finally be able to take it with me everywhere. But more than that, I will be able to recommend the game to people that don't have a PC.
Hmm.
I myself, as I mentioned on the podcast before, when I first found Monolith, now Star of Providence,
Hmm.
I didn't have a PC. And so I had to work and save up some money and get to a point where I could buy one and then play Star of Providence. It's totally worth it. And
Hmm.
that's not something that's not something you can recommend other people do though. I mean, recommending a game is one thing. You're already asking someone to take a chance and spend some money on something. Um, I couldn't recommend someone like, hey, you got to buy a high end gaming PC.
Well,
Why?
well, let
To play to play
let's be.
this pixelated roguelite game.
Yeah,
You got to do it.
you don't need a high end gaming PC to play Star of Providence. Let's be real.
That's fair, but just recommending someone play it in general is impossible if they don't have a PC. No one is crazy enough to purchase a PC just to play one game that I recommended they play. Um, but now that like when it is released on Switch, it will be accessible to all my friends that have never had a gaming PC and that have Nintendo Switches in their homes, and that's a lot of people. Anecdotally, I know way more people that have a Nintendo Switch than have a gaming PC. So I just see the Switch release opening the door of the facility to legions of potential new Star of Providence players, and it makes me really excited.
So broadly speaking, you just want the game to become less obscure.
Yeah, yeah. Will I become completely insufferable to all my friends that own a Nintendo Switch and don't own Star of Providence? I don't know. Only time will tell.
My bet's on yes.
Well, actually, strategically, you don't want to be too obnoxious because then they definitely won't want to try it. So, you got to strike a balance. You got to be a little bit obnoxious, but not so obnoxious that they don't play the game.
You have to be strategically obnoxious.
Exactly. Oh.
Another thing that I would want for Star of Providence for the next year is I would want there to be more fan writing for this game, and
Hmm.
fan writing from more people. I don't want it to be mostly just you and me again. I mean, I'd be
Hmm.
very happy if either one of us makes more fan writing for this game, but in the same way that we got a lot of people who do fan art for the game
Hmm.
and people who are inspired by all that, I would want people to just write more for the game, just more fan
Yes.
writing. I think it is something that is I would maybe do I want to say maybe underappreciated, underrepresented. It
Hmm.
feels like it's a fertile ground for creative exploration, and I'm always happy to see more of it around. So that's what I want for next year.
I obviously completely agree.
Hmm.
I would love to have some more people writing. It is extremely fertile. There's so much to explore in the game's lore itself, or even just branching off into your own imagination and writing about that. But I know that there are so many writers out there, so I hope some of them will feel inspired to write a little bit more about Star Providence.
Hmm. Yeah.
There was a really good example this year of a piece of fan writing that Nick, you and I have both read
Hmm.
that may at some future point end up on the podcast.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. We don't know that for sure, but we hope.
Hmm.
We're talking about things we hope for now. But the reason I bring it up is because it is a completely new take on the lore of the game.
Hmm.
And it blew my mind. And I was like, this is awesome. And that to me is the perfect example of what is possible when more and more people dip their toe into fan writing and give us their unique spin on things. Like that is, you know, even when someone's take is completely different from my own, that is even more intriguing.
The appeal of it is seeing the same source material but viewed from all these different lenses, and sort of
Hmm.
people constructing different stories and universes out of the same, I guess, base materials, but creating something that in the end is very different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you said it best. It's basically fan art, but
Hmm.
of the written word variety.
Which we do like a lot in this podcast and will dutifully celebrate. Anything else you hope for this year?
Yeah, I've mentioned this before, but I would just love some new merch. Specifically, another shirt I can wear, or like a really comfy hoodie. That would be
Hmm.
awesome. Or a poster I can frame and hang on my wall. My ultimate dream merch would be some sort of Star of Providence themed coffee. That probably won't happen, but any new merch. We know the Big Moto is going to come out.
Yeah. You want coffee in like three varieties: mild, intense, and sudden death.
Oh, absolutely. If they do some sort of collab with a coffee roaster, they'd have to have at least three different varieties.
Yeah, I'm always gonna make that joke because I did write something that was essentially that idea, but like expanded a little bit.
Yeah, maybe they could just include your story in the box with every purchase.
I really don't think that's gonna happen in the slightest.
Yeah. Well, we know that the Big Moto is coming, and I'm very excited about that. But if there's a way to support the devs again and buy some merch, I'd be very very happy.
Yeah, I just I think that one of the things that I have to keep into consideration is that
Hmm.
some time ago they did make vinyl records of part of the soundtrack,
Hmm.
and those did not sell as well as they had hoped. So they have all this. One of them, I think, Pure, has all this surplus that couldn't be sold. So I think this is one of those things where like, they have to carefully consider how much they realistically think they can sell, the game being as obscure as it is right now.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully that was kind of that first round was a good experience, not necessarily
Successful
a
experience.
successful experience, but it was probably a good experience. I know that I bought all the merch that was available, and all that stuff is just so neat. So I really hope now with the fan base grows, I think it'll be a really good opportunity to maybe not make another vinyl record, but to make maybe something a little bit more humble that will appeal to the majority of players.
I hope so too. Now, we've talked about what are the things that we know about the game for the next year, which is not a lot, and some of the things that we hope for the game. And since we're on the topic of making wishes, we
Mm-hmm.
might as well just go in and say, Malachi, what are some things you wish were included in the game itself? Like we've talked about, the community and merge and stuff like, but like
Mm-hmm.
stuff that would go in the game itself.
Hmm. I think we should call this segment "When You Wish Upon a Star of Providence."
Sure, let's go with that. Why
Well,
not?
yeah, if some I do have a wish list. In the current game, like as it is, again, keep in mind I don't know exactly what's coming in the update, but there are a couple things that I would really like to see.
Mm-hmm.
One we just discussed recently on the Discord. Actually, I would really like more familiars.
Mm-hmm.
So right now in the game, you can get contract. You can pick up contract, and you can hire a wise guy to follow you around and do a ton of damage. I would love a few other familiars, and just because I love the cast of enemies and characters in Star of Providence so much that it seems like a really wasted opportunity not to have some of those awesome sprites following you around and working with you besides the wise guy. Scarf Hermit, a drone. I don't know.
I think you mentioned in the previous episode how you wanted, I think, a cart, more carts that were just like that.
Yeah, I think I did.
So,
Now I'm just
but
repeating myself.
well, yeah, but like it. This is what you want. This is what you want to have in the game.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to see that because, again, it's just I have a deep affection for the characters, and to
Mm-hmm.
be able to kind of get a few of them on my side, that'd be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And because this is you, it must be mentioned.
Hmm.
Crawler stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say you must be referring to the alleged crawler kingdom that exists somewhere within the facility.
So it is rumored.
Yes, so it is rumored. I've spoken about this a lot, so I won't take a lot of time here, but I just really love uh that line in
In the
the
bestiary
yeah, in the
entry.
bestiary. Yeah, it's a bestiary entry, and that line is just so great for the world building in the game. And I feel like that is also just a really great opportunity to seed that in the minds of players and then have some way to reach the mythical crawler kingdom. It doesn't need to be something big. It could just be a tiny little room where all the crawlers are made, and it's like, oh shit, it's the crawler kingdom. But I just think because of that line, it's almost like Chekhov's gun or something. You know what I mean? It's like, how can you tell me about this kingdom and
Mm-hmm.
then I can't get there? How can you not? How can you not make a pathway?
This reminds me of like when back in the
Hmm.
days, like decades ago, when Zelda games would come out, and there would be all these rumors and like supposed
Hmm.
secrets, like, oh, if you do a certain things here and there, and you have certain items, you can unlock such and such secret. And most of the time, they're just people making stuff up. But occasionally, every so often, one of them is actually true.
Yes, exactly. What if, and that would be the most fun if there is a way to get there, and then one of the developers posts under a pseudonym on some on the Steam forums or something. It's like, hey, I saw this weird thing. If you press this button in this room, this thing happens. And I was like, what? Anyway, I just think that would be a lot of fun, and not necessarily just Crawler Kingdom, but I think anything like that, and I guess more broadly speaking, any secrets,
Hmm.
some secrets that take the community um, a little while to discover, or just some secrets that are in and of themselves a joy to discover. I think that the game would benefit greatly from a little bit more of that.
Hmm. Yeah.
What about you, Nick? What's on your wish list for the future of Star of Providence?
Well, I am a beta tester, so I do have some knowledge of what is going to be added.
Hmm.
So, what I can say is a bit restricted. I will say this: what I want the game to have is I would like more visitors, but I would
Hmm.
also really like to. I would like it is my wish that we explore more about the visitors themselves, like the visitors that we already have.
Hmm.
What is their history? What is their story? What are their relationships to each other?
Yeah.
What, in a sense, connects all these visitors beyond just they all came here, but like what is the overarching sort of setting
Hmm.
that connects all of these together in some way? Like in a sense, I want backstory of the characters that we play as. That is something that I'm always deeply interested in because we already have plenty of backstory about the facility and the council and the ritual and the super bosses.
Hmm.
But for the most part, the player characters themselves are still a mystery. We get like hints with things like maybe the trader says or the
Hmm.
Kleinus says, but there's still so much there that is a complete unknown. And I
Yeah.
would want that. I don't want necessarily to be told everything there is to know, but just
Sure.
a little bit more there, just to that can even hint at something even deeper or greater.
Hmm.
It's kind of like sometimes when you tell a story, you kind of end up creating negative space by implying things and then you don't elaborate upon them. But the fact that you know that those things exist already imbue the story with this whole depth and magnitude and gravitas. And I'm like, that's really cool. And I would want more of that.
Yeah.
And going back to something that we discussed before, perhaps uh, more options to customize the game. Maybe
Oh
have
yeah.
this would be like a good money sink for all those literally hundreds of millions of scrap I have lying around with no use. Just like allow me to just buy stuff, like have cool stuff to buy, cool little things like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I would want really for this game.
I wanted to take a moment, Nick, before we end, and we can talk a little bit about the podcast. And it feels like we've been doing it for a really long time. In reality, it's been about 6 to 7 months. But
Yeah.
how do you feel about the work that we've done?
Overall, it's been very satisfying
Hmm.
to just have this idea for a project and to just do it. One of the things that I often tell to my friends who
Hmm.
also follow creative pursuits is done is better than perfect. It is always better to just have a thing and finish it and put it out there than to just keep working on it endlessly and to just try to make it perfect but never quite get there. In that regard, it has been very satisfying for me to
Hmm.
do this podcast and to just be like, I am not going to worry about every little take or every little thing that I said or
Hmm.
try let the nitpicks get in the way of the process and just be like, we got all these episodes, the 16 episodes plus a few extras
Hmm.
done. And
Yeah.
when the episode is done, I don't like I don't spend my time thinking, oh, but did I do good? Maybe I wonder would go back and redo it. It's like, no, it's done. I move on to the next episode.
Hmm.
I focus on new ideas instead of worrying about all of the ones I already did. And I'll be very frank here. I am very aware that this podcast is a very very niche thing, which does not have a large audience.
Hmm.
In a sense, it's also okay to not worry about the popularity of it or the reception or how much of an impact it will have.
Yeah.
Like overall, I'm just happy that this is just the act of making this thing and doing it and
Hmm.
feeling happy that it is done and that I did all of this earnestly, sincerely, enthusiastically. And that I think is something that I can be very proud of. And I
Yeah.
am very proud of. And I am also very, very glad that I'm doing this with you. You are my friend, and we wanted to do something together for a while. And I
Hmm.
feel like this has been an excellent way for us to put our creative energies together and create something that is unique for this community and has only further strengthened our bond in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Really well said, Nick. I'm glad I asked you that question. I feel like that was much deeper than anything I was going to say, but
So, what are you going to say?
well, you're right that it's really satisfying that we set out to make a thing and then we did it. We did a thing. We've
Hmm.
made quite a few episodes and, um, we took this idea and proved that we can actually make it into something semi listenable. Um, but it's just been a really fun and creative outlet for just creativity and also our passion for the game and for the community. And it's been really fun to talk to other players of the game and people that are contributing to the community. And I really look forward to doing more of that in 2024.
I also feel like, to some sense, some of the work that we do here in this podcast can even be regarded as important. How do I want to
Hmm.
put this? It is, in a sense, it becomes a record of the game and its community, the people that make up the community, the enthusiasm,
Hmm.
and it is something that can be shared. It is easily accessible.
Yeah.
And I'm just proud of that. Like you said, it's not just us, really. It's also all the people that have lent us their time and their enthusiasm and their love for this game.
Hmm.
And that just only makes this even more special.
So going forward in the future, we are going to continue the podcast, right?
I have no intention of stopping.
But we're going to continue to interview players and people from the community and creators that are relative to Star of Providence. Um, we want to keep doing fan writing episodes, as many as we
Mhm.
can reasonably make. So again, if there's anyone out there that you have written something or you want to write something, please do and let us know
Mhm.
about it. We'd
Yeah.
we'd be happy to consider it to be featured on the show.
Yeah. No promises, but we do encourage you to do it anyway. And we also just want to make more interviews. We
Hmm.
want to have more people come in and join us. We have some ideas. We're not going to make any promises because we can't promise that things are going to turn out the way that they do. We have to consult with people's schedules and availability and all that stuff. But there's people we definitely want to ask and let them be part of the podcast and let them tell their story.
Hmm. Yeah, so look forward to that in the year to come.
And of course, as you can imagine, as soon as the update releases, then we're gonna have a whole. We're gonna have so much to talk about. It's gonna be a very busy time for everyone, but it's also going to be very exciting, and I am very much looking forward to being busy with all that.
As am I.
That being said, despite all of these hopes we have for the future, I do want to say thank you to everyone who has listened to our podcast, who has left a comment in any of the platforms, or who has showed up in the Discord. I know it's not a lot of people, again, this is a very niche thing, but I do
Mm.
want to sincerely thank everyone who nonetheless took time out of their day to listen to what Malik and I had to say and our weird thoughts as they are.
Yeah. And we'd also like to thank everyone who has contributed to the podcast.
Hmm.
We're really grateful that people were willing to share their writing with us. They were willing to read writing for us. They were willing to share their time and thoughts and energy with us. We're really grateful. So thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. We hope that you have all had as good as a 2023 as you could have, and that 2024 is a good year, and that we all get together and enjoy the new update together.
Thanks so much for listening to our Star of Providence fan cast. Thanks again to Garowslaw for allowing us to use his music and sound effects.
And be sure to check out all of the Star of Providence soundtracks on the Bandcamp, the base game soundtrack, the Relics of the Past soundtrack, and the 5th Anniversary Edition soundtrack.
If you have any comments or suggestions for us, you can reach out to us on our Discord server. The link will be in the show description.
And there you will find fellow pilots to talk with and discuss the show. Thank you for listening. We'll hope you'll join us next time.
This is what you came for, isn't it?
So be it.